they started pulling out Ziploc bags of marijuana. There were about 5-gallon size. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Marielle, imperfectly, back with another video. I am in another location yet again. I got a new ring light, and my old one was a short one, and it was kind of needed to be propped up on the table. I have a long one now that can stand on its own, so I was like, oh, let me sit in front of the TV. I'm giving y'all a whole tour of my apartment, so stay focused. Anyway, this week we have a story time. Now, I know you guys have been waiting for this one. I wanted to give you a little gift for 2023. I know y'all have been asking, well, what was the real reason? Well, what really happened? This sound no sound. The math ain't mathin'. Well, I wanted to give you a story time of the straw that broke the camel's back. I wanted to tell you guys what happened that actually made me removable. This story is so complex that I had to pour myself a cocktail. Having a little sex on the beach situation, nothing crazy. Yeah, I had to pour a drink for this one. So you might need to pour yourself a drink too, because this gets good. So anyway, this story is dated 2008. I'm living in Atlanta. I've left my grandmother's house years prior. I have my one son. I am living on my own. I decided, one of my cousins called and was like, you know what, I moved to Atlanta. Atlanta's the move. It's Chocolate City. Come up here. Let's just leave Orlando behind. There wasn't nothing going on down there. So this cousin and I aren't necessarily besties, but I wanted an opportunity to just like explore another place. So I said, you know what, why not? So I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. She came down and got me. I'll forever be grateful for that. She drove down, came and picked me up, me and my son. We drove back up, and we were living with her for a while, but then that didn't work out. Again, that's not my closest cousin. So I eventually branched out on my own. During this time, I'm figuring out life undocumented. I just found out that I don't have papers and the magnitude of that. I'm just like a year or two prior finding out that my case had been abandoned. I don't have proper documentation. I don't have proper status. So I'm winging life right now without papers in America. And so I get to Georgia because I had experience. I ended up leaving my cousin's house, branched out on my own because I had experience in the waitress industry. I literally could go to any 5-star, 4-star, 3-star hole in the wall and get a job. I knew all the right answers to any interview. I was charming. I knew how to wow a manager. I knew all the things to say, all the keywords, multitask, help, every guess is your guess, help, full hands in, full hands out. I knew all the things to say to get a job at a restaurant. So it wasn't a big deal for me to, my first job in Atlanta, Georgia was a Hooters. I was a Hooters girl. I wish I had some pictures. Oh my God, I have one picture of me being a Hooter girl, but it's obviously somewhere. So I got a job at Hooters in Stockbridge, Georgia, and shortly after I transferred, I wanted to be closer to Midtown. I moved up, left my cousin behind. Me and my son moved up to like Midtown, Buckhead area. So I'm living on my own, and I now get a job at a different restaurant. I'm working at like a sports bar meets fine dining. It's called Fox Sports Grill. If you know, you know. It's closed down now, but it was like the spot in Atlantic Station. If you ever was in Atlanta, 2010 and under, I think they closed down maybe 2012, 15, I'm not sure because I had already moved out of Atlanta. But if you ever were in Atlanta around them times, you went to Fox Sports Grill. It was the spot. So I was working there as a cocktail waitress, and I met all sorts of people, celebrities, the local Falcons players, like you name it, I would rub elbows with these people. So along with people that I met a group of guys, local rapper. I won't name his name because he honestly doesn't have anything to do with this. I met him and met some of his friends. And this entire story has to do with one of his homeboys. He has absolutely nothing to do with this. But I met some of his friends. They used to take us out, me and a couple of my homegirls. We'd go to the strip clubs. We would just go out to eat, and they would always front the bill. Like, it was just, cool vibes. They would come to Fox, eat, drink, and then when I got off, we'd go hang out with them. And we kind of built a little rapport Over time, I call these people friends. I literally was one of them. There was nothing ever romantic about between me and any of them, but I did build some sort of friendship. They actually had me one time, I remember. The one guy called me and was like, hey, I need you to take me to Alabama. So from Atlanta to Alabama, it's a really short ride. So they were like, I need you to take me to Alabama. We'll put gas in the car. I'll even drive. I just need your car. So I was like, okay, no problem. These are my friends. They're cool. I took them to Alabama. A few years back, I learned that I was trafficking, God knows what, even in that situation. But by the grace of God, we met some Jamaicans in a parking lot of like a steakhouse. I want to say Outback or one of those like dark steakhouses. And there was some sort of exchange. I remember just being like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom to pee. I went inside, they did what they did. And then it was like, all right, we're good to go. So naive, never asked any questions or anything. So that was one incident. This particular story time is dated around the incident that turned my entire life around. So this particular time, I called him. I was like, you know what? I'm in a bind. If you know, I'm in a bind, Nate. I was short. My rent was something stupid like $700. God, I know, like what I wouldn't give. I know y'all would be like, $700, you didn't have that. I didn't have that. I don't know what was going on. I didn't have my rent. And I called one of them. I was like, I need to borrow like $200 to $300. I'm short on my rent. And dude was like, nah, no problem. Matter of fact, I need you to take me somewhere. Come and I got you. I'll give you like $5. And I was like, oh, bet. I remember them I was living north Atlanta, like right off the 400, irrelevant, but relevant. And they were living like south of the airport, like Riverdale area. So a good 30 minutes away. So I drove down. At the time I had a Pontiac Grand Prix. I drove down and I remember him telling me to back into his garage. It was a house. I had never been there before. He told me to back into his garage. So I backed into the garage. When I got in, there was a bunch of guys smoking weed, drinking. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was early and there was activity going on in the house. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. What's up? And he's like, all right. I was like, matter of fact, he was like, you want a drink? So I got like a juice. I got like a peach orchid juice that I used to always get, Minute Maid. It was so good. I got some juice. I didn't get no alcohol because I knew I had to drive all the way down to Columbus. I was taking him somewhere. So I was like, no, I'll just have a juice. And I remember going to the living room where all the guys were, and they're all trying to holler like, oh, where you from? You're not from Atlanta, da, da, da. And I'm like, no, I just moved up here from Florida, you know, the regular. And meanwhile, whatever was going on in my car was going on. So once I finished, they told me, yeah, let's go, we out. There was an F-150 pickup truck parked out front. And so I jump in my car. I remember I had a little Louis bag, the little bowling ball Louis bag in the front. And I remember moving it to have him come sit in the front because I was taking him somewhere. And I remember him just saying, no, I'm going to ride with my boy. Follow us to the gas station. And I was like, how am I taking you somewhere and I'm following you? But okay, anyway, soon as I drove off, I got on the phone with my homegirl. And I'm talking to her. This particular homegirl, my homegirl from Florida, we get on the phone, we laugh for 4 hours at a time. Like we were just laughing and cracking up. So I'm not even paying attention to what's going on. I get in the car and I smell like there's weed from the time I walked in the house because there was people smoking weed. So there's weed all up in my nostril hairs. I don't know how to explain it. But there was so much weed in the house that when I got in the car, there was no difference. I get to the gas station, he gasses me up, he fills me up, and I remember him coming out with like one of those gas station air sprays, and he sprayed the car down. And I'm just kind of like, okay. He's like, nah, we just got, you know, and he said, your tints are kind of dark, ride with your 2 front windows like halfway. And I'm like, cool, whatever you said. We get on the highway, we're going 85 south from Atlanta, Georgia to Columbus, Georgia. And we're driving down and he gives me a set of directions. Don't follow him too closely. Don't speed. You know, just follow all the rules. And I'm just like, yeah, let's go. So I get behind him. We're driving. About 30 minutes into the drive, I'm still on the phone with my homegirl. I'm cracking up. I'm just like dying laughing. We talk about everything and nothing at all. And so I noticed a Georgia state trooper facing north. We're going south. So I'm driving, he's in front of me, I'm behind him. We're in the like far left lane, so kind of like the fast lane, but we're not speeding nothing crazy because I'm following his speed. So we're doing, you know, we're okay. And I just noticed the state trooper throwing his lights and proceed to like come out of the median and turn around. So at this point, I'm like, there's like 2 to 3 cars between me and the state trooper. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm paying attention. I'm, you know, when you see a police, you're looking. So I'm looking in my review and I see him and I see the cars moving out of the way and he's not following them. So the first one moves out of the way, he's steady, continues, and the second one move out of the way. Then I'm like, oh, please don't tell me this person trying to get behind me. So I hang up with you. I'm like, yo, let me call you back. So I can hang up with her, and then I immediately call my homeboy. And I'm like, hey, I think this police officer's trying to get behind me. And he's like, stay calm. Just, you know, just don't trip. We're going to wait for you at the next exit. So I get pulled over, and the state trooper, big, brolic black dude, comes out, and so he pulls me all the way over. So I had to merge over like 3 to 4 lanes to the right side. And he pulls me over and he comes over to the passenger side, because had he been on my side, the traffic is going by and we're on a highway. So he comes over to the passenger side, and he's got an instrument, the instrument to check your window tinting. It's a machine, I'm not sure how they call it, to check the percentage of your windows, because each state has a legal, like your tints can't be too dark. So he comes out and he puts it on the window to get the measurement, and he had me to roll my window down enough for him to have enough window to check. And I'm sitting in the car, I'm not worried, I'm literally like, okay, I know I wasn't speeding. Okay, what's going on? Okay, he's gonna give me a ticket for my tent. That's $50, $60. Like, okay, whatever. And so he comes out and he's talking to me. He's very polite. And he's like, you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, I'm not sure. He was like, well, legally in the state of Georgia, because I see you have Florida tags. In the state of Georgia, your tent has to be at certain percentage, and you're at apparent, like seemingly, just from, you know, a quick look, you're a little darker, da-da-da-da. But as I'm talking to him, I noticed him like sticking his head in the window, and I'm thinking it's because he can't hear me because of the traffic going by. And so he's sticking his head in the window, and he's slowly inhaling, and he's like, what you say? And he's, you know, this is a professional. He's a state trooper. He's not new to this. He's true to this. So I'm still none the wiser. And he takes the thing off the window and he goes, where you headed? And I was like, oh, I'm following some friends. They're right ahead of me. I was taking some classes at a local community college. I was like, I have class tonight. My son is in school. He gets out at 2. I just need to, like, you know, I'm taking him somewhere real quick. I'm coming right back. And he goes, what do you do for a living? I go, oh, I'm a cocktail waitress at Fox Sports Grill in Atlantic Station. I'm like, why? You trying to pull up? Let me take care of you. And he was just like, that's a nice offer. Thank you. He goes, but I'm pretty good at what I do. I've been doing this for 13 years, and I'm pretty good at what I do. And I'm like, want a cookie? And he goes, no, I'm saying that to say, I'm good at what I do, as I'm sure you're good at what you do. And I know there's something in this car. So I'm asking you permission to search the vehicle. And I'm like, what do you think is in this car? And he was just like, well, do you mind if I search? And I'm like, you're the police. Like, I don't know any of the rules. I don't know anything about what rights I have, what I should have said, could have, would have. I'm like, sure. So he proceeds to get on his radio and make some calls. Next thing I know, he comes around, he asked me out of the car, and he proceeds to put handcuffs on me. And I'm like, if you're just searching the car, why do I have to be handcuffed? So he puts handcuffs on me, and he puts handcuffs on me and then asked me to sign a paper. And so this was a search warrant. I was not knowing what it was. He literally was like, sign right here. I signed right there. Once I signed, multiple cars started pulling up. Now, I'm in a small town called LaGrange, Georgia. So this town is like population 500. Kissing cousins, if I may. I mean, it's one of those towns. So they had nothing else to do. This was the case of the century for them. So the captain, everybody from the police department, from the Troup County Police Department showed up. And I just remembered them handcuffing me and putting me to the side. About 5 cars pulled up, and I think there was a dog. It was a lot. And I'm staying on the side in complete disbelief. And I just remember at some point, I don't remember if it was while I was talking to him, while I'm still in the car, I just remember the F-150 just getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappeared. And so they popped the trunk, and they started in the car. They searched the door panels. I remember one officer ripping my door panel. I was like, oh, you're strong. Ripped the door panel to see whether anything was inside the door. Didn't find anything. Tore my little car up. Finally, they end up in the trunk. What was in my trunk was a laundry bag. So they had a laundry bag of dirty clothes. That was jeans. I remember jeans, t-shirts, sweatshirts flying around. Underneath where their spare tire was supposed to be was another, like a gym bag. And in said gym bags, they started pulling out Ziploc bags of marijuana. There were about 5-gallon size. This is blurry. I want to say 5 to 6 gallon size Ziploc bags packed with marijuana. And I just remember once they lifted up that part where the spare tire is supposed to be, and they found that gym bag, they pulled the gym bag out, they opened it, and it was like a standing ovation. Like, yeah, like, got 'em. Like, it was one of those, and I'm sitting there like, and I just remember as they start pulling the stuff out, there was a car behind me, a cop car behind me, one of their cars, and they would just put it on the hood of that car, and they would pull the stuff out and they put it on the hood on the car, and everybody's celebrating, high-fiving each other. And I just remember cars that were driving by honking, like, oh, like it was like a scene from a movie. And I'm 120 pounds soaking wet. I'm 5'2", little bitty thing standing on the side of the road. Yeah, so I get arrested, obviously. I get taken in. So the first person that comes to talk to me, he's like, whose is it? Give me a name, because this is not yours. And I was like, we're gonna name him Pookie, because that's like the kind of name that I had for him. I had no government for him. These were people I went to the club with and hung out with and drank with. I did not have a government name for these people. So I literally was like, his name is Pookie. He lives in Riverdale. I could take you out to the house. And I guess like with these people being like detectives and these drug people knowing what they're doing, they've done this before. Based on the answers that you give, I guess they can kind of tell whether you're telling the truth or not. Like, they're used to people saying, it ain't mine, it ain't mine. So based on the way I was answering their questions, they knew what it was. So they actually handed me a phone. They were like, call him and tell him we cited you for your tents that were illegal, and we're letting you go. Let him know, like, just play it off. Tell him that we did not, find anything in your car. So they give me this phone. Now I could just imagine, my voice is shaking. I am in a situation I've never been before. I mean, there are drugs involved. So I was just like, hey, they let me go, and my voice is doing this. And they were like, I remember, I'll never forget the sound. He answered, he said, hello. And I said, hey, what's up, Pookie? They letting me go, and where y'all at? Y'all gonna wait for me? What we doing, whatever. And I just remember him saying, don't you ever call this phone no more. And he flung it out the window. Like, I could hear the phone like flying out the window and hitting the ground. Little burner phone. And I later came to the conclusion that they probably got off the highway and got right back on going north, and they saw everything. They saw me get handcuffed. They saw all the cop cars. They saw the weed getting pulled out of the car. They were halfway back up to Atlanta by the time I called them, so they were never going to come back for me. I was on speaker. I had them on speaker, so the detectives heard it as well, and they were like, unless you can give us a government, a full name, last name right now, you're going to have to take this charge. And so I tried to call back. I was like, no, let me call him back. He's very nice. He's always been so nice to me. He's not going to leave me. He's not going to do this to me. And I remember them trying to like preach to me like, oh, no, boyfriend is worth this. Boyfriends do this. They're using you as a mule. Boyfriends do this to their girlfriends all the time. They find someone who's naive like yourself. You're taking classes. You're a mother, and they're doing this to you. Don't, the whole trying to play, codees against each other. And they're like, he doesn't care about you. You shouldn't care about him. They wanted him. They didn't want me. But I was what they had, and they had to do what they had to do. So I got charged with trafficking in marijuana. I got a driving with expired license, well, no license. So those were, I think, the 2 charges that I was hit with. So over time, I fought it. I got a lawyer. I bailed out. No help to Pookie. Pookie didn't help me. I had to gather it up. Couldn't come up with $300 to pay my rent, but now I had to pay $1,500 to get out of jail. So I paid to get out, thanks to friends and family. I ended up fighting it. When I actually had to go to court for my sentence, I had a lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia that was pretty good. And what they ended up giving me was probation and like some fees. And I remember the judge just saying, stop being stupid. You are used as a mule and you need to stop being stupid. Make better decisions. Be careful who you surround yourself with. These people don't care about you. And I literally got a slap on the wrist. Well, that was until and I ended up doing everything I was supposed to do. I paid my fines early. I did my probation with flying colors. Even my PO was like, you don't even need to report in. We could do this via mail. After a while, once you start proving yourself, they see your lifestyle, they come to your house, they see what type of person you are. They're like, you know what, you made a mistake. Like, you know, be good, stay out of trouble. You could just write in. If reporting to probation is basically letting them know what your lifestyle is. What are you getting into? Are you getting arrested? What do you do on a day-to-day? Do you work? You have to keep a job. What do you, they just want to keep tabs on you. And so my PO would pop up at my house. I was never doing anything wrong. I never had weapons in my house. I didn't smoke weed. I never had drugs around. So she was like, you got caught up in some mess. Like, be careful. And so I ended up being able to just write in, hey, everything's the same. I still work at such and such. I've not been in any contact with any police officers. My son is still in school. I'm still, that was the end of that for 2008. I got sentenced 2012 and I was done with probation and everything by 2014. It's a blur. And then we get 45 as our president. And I'm gonna stop my story time here, but I just wanted to give you guys a story time on the time that I got my drug trafficking charge, which led up to everything that ended up, you know, my demise, if we may. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up here. I'll do a follow-up. I'll let you guys know exactly what tied one into the other, but as of right now, that is the one charge that made me absolutely removable. There's a no tolerance. Drugs and fraud, you do not get caught with immigration and lack of status or being just a green card holder. You don't ever want to be under those two. You know, you don't, in anything physical, I believe, any like battery or violence. So yeah, that's what happened to me in Atlanta, Georgia in 2008 when I got my drug trafficking charge. I have never touched drugs any time before or after that. I'm still like anti, you know, any substance. My substance of choice is alcohol, which there'll be a story time about that. So yeah, so I'm gonna leave you guys here. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, peace. Oh, Lord, I can't believe I just got on Beyonce's internet and told this story.